Welcome to week 4 of the RIAK Power Ranking project, our data collection series, where we help you collect the data so that you can contribute. Let's explain a little bit more about that if anyone's new to this session in a second. Personally, my name is Rich. I'm the founder and head coach of RIAK Fitness, also the co-founder of the online events company. You'll see their adverts above me, and you'll also see their hoardings in RGT. You can just see them on the left and the right hand side now. So yeah, check us out. Tonight's session, it's a bit of a freestyler. So I've titled it the Canary Wharf Sprint Challenge. Kind of as the name suggests, we're going to do sprints in Canary Wharf, which is a real road on RGT. Now, maybe we'll cut the coaching feed a bit shorter than normal, just because you might get a bit sick of me and it's all going to be a bit disjointed, etc. But we're going to warm up together, first 10 minutes, do some fast pedaling efforts, and then we'll get stuck into it. And essentially, guys, what we're doing is you'll see the orange line underneath the topography on the RGT screen. That's the segment. That's the sprint. Okay, you'll see as we go through. As I say, nothing to worry about to begin with. First 10 minutes, we're just going to ride together, keep it nice and chilled. Just looking to work in that zone 2 area, around 60-65% of FTP. We'll just build into it, really. As I say, it's a bit of a freestyling session. I'll explain all in a second. But first 10 minutes, just nice and easy, just building into it, zone 2 sort of effort. Should feel like a 3 or 4 out of 10, 10 being a full-on sprint. So here we go, just kicking off. Okay. So yeah, basically in a nutshell, guys, going to spend 15 minutes warming up, and then I'm just going to unleash you on the sprint segment on RGT, which you'll see as we go around. But just first, in case anyone's new or watching this kind of on demand, the RIAK Power Ranking project, essentially, it's an attempt to kind of help make training a little bit more competitive, and it's a bit more fun, maybe. Starting off by helping people collect what's called their peak power data. In essence, it's their personal bests over certain durations. So in this session, we're going to be looking at sort of your 5, maybe 20 second power, depending on how fast you can do the sprint segment, which we're coming up to now. So this is the sprint segment on Canary Wharf, which starts at the banner, and you can see it corresponds to that orange line underneath the topo at the bottom, just showing you kind of where the segment starts and finishes. It's only a couple, just over 250 meters long, so it's a pretty short sprint and it's a max effort. Okay, so you can see you're just sort of pootling through here, and it's taking me just over sort of 25 seconds. So we're looking at really your 5-second power, that max effort sprint that you can put in. Okay, now just coming back to the peak powers, as I say, they're generally your kind of personal best over different durations. So the key ones that we look at in the power ranking project are your 5-second power, which we're working on in the session, your 1-minute power, your 5-minute power, and then your FTP. So basically, these different peak powers, they correspond to kind of different ways your body produces energy. Underneath your FTP, it's predominantly aerobic production, and then once you get over your FTP in terms of power, you start to produce energy more and more anaerobically. So that 5-minute power is kind of the next one you come to after your FTP. That symbolises kind of the sort of power that you can put out. What's that? Your VO2 max, the maximum volume of oxygen that you can utilise essentially. Okay, then you come to the 1-minute power, which is your anaerobic capacity, the total amount of work you can do in an anaerobic state. Then you get to the 5-second power, and that's your max level sprint using what's called your phosphocreatine system, your explosive energy system, good for a maximum of about 30 seconds before your lactic acid system kicks in. But yeah, it's basically the sort of energy system that powerlifters use, and well, sprinters, as you're going to be soon. So why does any of this matter? Well, basically guys, if you know what your peak powers are, you can kind of see how well developed your different energy systems are, and to a certain extent gauge what you're like as a rider. So for instance, if without any specific conditioning your 5-second power is pretty decent, you might have a natural affinity for sprint effort. So for example, if you play a lot of team sports growing up, lots of short sprints, and then you came into cycling sort of later in life, you might have a natural affinity for sprinting and you just don't even know it. And so that's what this is all about, really, helping people to kind of find out what they're like. It will help you discover how well balanced you are. Are you better at over certain durations than others? Do you have a really good aerobic fitness, but your top end power is lacks kind of enthusiasm, shall we say? So various different ways, and I think really the best thing to do, guys, if you're interested in learning more, go to the Power Ranking Project page on the RIAK Fitness website. All the details are there. You've got a questionnaire that kind of gives a whole load of information, more depth than I can really cover in this session. But yeah, there's some free sessions on there, and essentially the whole point of this Power Ranking Project series that we're doing for free on RGT is to be able to provide these sessions again to help people collect data. So these will all go up on the Power Ranking Project website and assist with the process. So back to this session, we're just cruising. In terms of cadence, I'd like you to pick it up to around 65 RPM and above, if you're not there already. Okay. Power-wise, yeah, looking for, I'd say, around 65% of FTP. So slap bang in the middle of zone 2, and we're just going to build the effort as we go. You can ignore this segment for now. Okay, and then what we're going to do, once we get to 10 minutes, we're going to throw in some fast pedaling efforts with a little bit of juice. So the way I want you to think about them is just sort of like, I don't know, 80% sprints. They're not max level efforts. We're just going to rev the legs up a little bit, then have a bit more cruising for a few minutes, and then basically we're just going to go for it on the segment, and that's where we'll probably fall out of sync. I'll do a couple of laps, 2 or 3 laps after that, but I think me being out of sync all the time and trying to motivate you is just going to get annoying basically. So I will duck out, but I want to get you to that stage. Make sure you're nice and warm, make sure you know what you're up to, and then I'll leave you alone. So you can concentrate on sprinting. So you basically do as many reps as you want once we get there. Now the initial rep is going to be the most important one, which is why I want to do a nice long warm up. And then after that, it comes down to repeatability. So what I suggest you do from then, after that first sprint that we do, is use the rest of the lap to recover, and then pick a point at which you can start to launch your sprint. So we're not starting, I think it's an important point to make when we get there after the warm up. I don't want you to suddenly start putting down the pound now, because by the time you get there, you know, you aren't going to be, you want to be kind of reaching top speed by the time you hit that start line for the segment. So you're going to rev it out, you know, before the final corner essentially. So take these next few laps, next few minutes, just sort of scouting out the course. Obviously I'm in the middle of the segment now, but you're probably riding at a different rate, different area on the course. So just keep an eye on, just have a little, off on the next lap or so, just concentrate on the course so you can see what it involves. I would really recommend having the resistance turned right up if you've got a smart trainer or a smart bike. You want something to push against, and as you would have seen, it's a slight downhill in the middle of the sprint segment. Actually, that's totally wrong what I just said. You want it because you want it nice and consistent. You can see there's a dip in the middle of the segment where your trainer will go light. So you want to turn the trainer feedback right down, so your trainer essentially reflects a perfectly flat course, so that you can have a nice consistent effort. Okay. Professional as always, contradicting myself halfway through my sentence. So coming into the segment now, you can see, right, this is where you want to really start to ramp it up, coming up towards this final corner. And obviously it's an avatar, so you just keep revving it through. That's the ultimate corner. Oh, not doing very well tonight, am I? Yeah. Now the final corner, and you want to be really flying before you hit those 2 corners, so that when you get to this sprint line, then you really unleash the beast. Okay, so you want momentum, because yes, we want to clear that 5 second power, but also we've got this segment on Strava, on RGT, sorry, and we want to do quite well in that. Okay, so you can, you know, see how you're getting on in the universe of Wahoo RGT. Okay, so coming up to 25 seconds to go until we start to spin up the legs a little bit. As I say, I encourage you to do sort of 80% efforts, not 80% of FTP, but 80% of your max. So sort of semi-sprints, just to really rev up the legs. As usual, want a really nice high leg speed, upwards of 100 RPM when you do them. So here we go, here's the first one. So you can use the sprint segment if you want, if you need some delineation, but just rev up the legs for another 10 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and relax. So just 20 seconds on. Gonna take a minute off, then we're gonna go again. Don't worry, you're gonna have plenty of cruising after this to kind of recover before you do that first lap. Still spinning up Once we get to 11 minutes and 25 and 20 seconds on the clock, let's get my head engaged. 11 minutes and 20 seconds, we're gonna go again. Okay? So just 80% effort, we're just revving ourselves up, just warming up, just trying to lift that cadence. Ready to go in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Here we go then, come on. Just an 80% effort for 20 seconds. And 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and relax. So, just do 3 more of those. So I want you to really be revved up. So, spend a fair old whack just warming up so that you're really ready to go when we do that first sprint. More of those. Ready to go in 10, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's go. Round 3. Come on. Ten. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Spinning up the legs again. So 2 more rounds of that. We'll cruise for a bit. Okay, 10 seconds, then we go again. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Here we go. Round 4. Ten seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Well done. Okay, just one more. We'll consider ourselves revved. Sorry if you just saw me dribbling a lot. My bottom's slightly broken. I haven't just regressed as a human being. Right, 10 seconds, then a final sort of rev up. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Here we go, rev up then. Okay, 10 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, and relax. So just spin up the legs a little bit just to get a bit of recovery. And then we're going to spend the next 5 minutes just cruising, well, not cruising actually, cruising to a certain extent. But I want your effort to be around tempo level. So you should be working strong essentially, because what we want to do is keep that heart rate kind of reasonably high, sub threshold to be clear. So make sure your heart rate is always under threshold heart rate. But for the next 4 minutes and 40 seconds, just running at a tempo level, so around 80% of FTP, okay? Don't stress too much about the numbers. It should feel like a 5 or a 6 out of 10 effort. So strong, but not hard, okay? So it's cruising. This is basically to kind of keep you nice and warm, recover a little bit, but not get cafe legs. Okay, we still want that responsiveness, that explosivity. We don't want the legs to go completely to sleep. And then, yeah, once we get to the 20-minute mark, we're going to go for it, okay? Now just remember what I said about lining up that sprint, okay? We want a big sprint, but you also want that segment as well. So you can see the pop-up telling you how far you've got to go. Now, if you think about, if you watch any pro cycling, generally they sort of say sprint, when they unleash it properly, it's less than about 200 meters to go. Okay, so you think about the sprint is sort of 260 meters, and then you've got a bit of a lead in. So that sort of 80% effort that we were just doing, that's your lead in. So that's what you're putting out over those final 2 corners, and then as soon as you hit that segment line, you're going for it. I hope that makes sense. Okay, I'll tell you what, let's just do a bit of a, just you carry on riding at 80% of FTP, and I'll just kind of walk you through it as we go around the course. Okay, so just coming up to the end of the segment. So the lap is about 1 kilometre of Canary Wharf, okay? So all we're going to do is gonna poodle round, well not poodle, tempo round, 80% of FTP, 5 or 6 out of 10 still, for another 2.5 minutes. Just hope I actually get to where I want to be in that time, but we'll just run over. As I say, this is a bit of a freestyle session, so let's just walk through the course first. So don't worry too much about the timer, just right at tempo level still. I do quite enjoy these freestyling sessions, but they easily come across as quite shambolic. Oh Mike, there you go. I just gave you a bit of a backie, I think. So you can see the sprint starts in 260 meters. We're not starting yet. We're starting to build, and then we'll get to the final 2 corners that are coming up. We start to lift it. That 80% effort. This is just a dry run, guys. We're not really doing this, okay? This is just me demonstrating. Then you get to the final corner, and you're holding, and then when you get to that line, it's barrel ahead, and off you go, okay? That's what you're gonna do. But now though, staying at tempo, just wherever you're on the course. Once we get to 20 minutes, then you're going to start to line it up. I'm obviously going to run it how I am on the course, and that's why I only do maybe a couple of sprints. Otherwise, me kind of getting excited whilst you're in the recovery or vice versa, being silent when you're trying to sprint and not helping motivate you, I think I'll get a bit irritating. So I'll run through a couple of sprints with you, and then I'll do one. So about 30 seconds. So on my RGT, I think this should be our first sprint coming up. I'm really pedantic over times. We have to be over a certain time before we can sprint. But then in other ways, I don't really, not yet. Right, so this will be our first. Actually, I tell you what, let's do another full lap, shall we? Let's do another full lap so that we're properly prepared. 20 minutes is gone. We're going to let this sprint go. Okay, and then the next lap, we're going to go for it, okay? I want to make sure everyone's kind of revved up and happy with what they're up to. So just imagine last 2 corners again, 80% of it of all sprint, just timing it. Then as soon as we get to this line, bombs away, full gas, everything you've got, all the way up to the end of the segment. Okay, so next time round, no more procrastinating from me, full effort next time. And then you're just going to spend the rest of the course recovering before you go again. And then it's just up to you how many reps you want to do, basically. there is an element of repeatability testing here, how many times you can sprint, but also really how many times you can kind of get anywhere near the same effort, okay? And if you're doing a repeatability type session, work off the third rep, okay? The third rep is typically the one that is slightly reflective, is more reflective of what you can do in an actual race. Okay, so do 3 reps, and then from there, you know, there's a big drop off after the third rep. Call it a day, but just do as many as you feel you want to do. All about this next rep though, really. That's where the data's going to come from. Okay, so start revving up the legs. Let's get back up to tempo. If you kind of relax a little bit, and then just remember, as soon as we hit those final two corners that are coming up, yeah, we lift that effort, and it's bombs away as soon as you cross that line. So let's get ready. Approaching the penultimate corner. Okay, we're going to start revving up, stop revving. Coming up to the final corner. Ready? Get ready, just hold that level. Get ready to pump it. Here we go then, come on. Push. All the way to the end. Well done. And then just recover. So you don't actually get that much recovery. So it's a really tough repeatability challenge. So each lap, 1 minute 41. So you maybe get a minute 20 recovery, not long. You know, if you're really not confident in this stuff, you can put a full lap in between if you want really high quality reps, or if you're going for repeatability, just think about how this would apply. Okay? So e-racing, crit racing, cyclocross, it's just all these short, horrible bursts. 10, 15, 20 seconds at a time, chasing a wheel, trying to push away. You know, if you do any of that sort of stuff, oh, this is a session for you, I think. So I'll do a couple more, and then I'll disappear. And you get your angry music up. So, coming into, I think this is the final corner now. So we're revving it up, revving it, getting ready. And let's go, come on. Push all the way. Good start. That's round 2. I'm just going to soft pedal. Very often, this sort of times, to get asked about cadence, and you would have seen me standing up. So just firstly, cadence. As high as you can go. I'm going to be honest with a sprint. Kind of the general rules go out the window. It just really comes down to everything you've got, and it depends when it comes. If you're doing a sprint, get on the back of the wheel in the middle of a race. You want to be as efficient as possible. And that's when all the rules kind of about cadence, being up above 80 RPM, try not to push, try not to roll too heavy of a gear, trying to be efficient, trying to save energy, all that still applies. But if you're coming up to that final sprint, hopefully race winning sprint, all bets are off. It's just doing whatever you got to do to get to that finish line first. Okay? When it comes to standing up, typically on a turbo trainer, I would suggest 5 pedal strokes and sit down. I've got mine anchored. Can't see, but I've got weight plates anchoring mine down because I've been doing quite a lot of sprint training at the moment. So I feel a little bit more confident being out of the saddle. But here we go. Penultimate corner. Just revving it, building the effort. Go through the gears. Keeping it on a level. We get to that line. And then here we go. Head down. All the way, all the way. As I say, getting out of the saddle to sprint. Yeah, if you can, anchor the trainer down. If you've got a smart bike, those things are bloody heavy anyway, so I don't think you have to worry too much. But yeah, a normal turbo, do your best to get it weighted down. Not just for safety reasons, but also if the trainer's flying out all over the place, you're going to find it hard to put the power down. But generally speaking, yeah, I say 5 pedal strokes and then sit down. Also, the kind of what you do can also depend on kind of what you compete in, or if you compete in anything. So if you're a mountain biker, you're like a bit of mountain bike XC or something like that, that's all seated power. Same with cyclocross. You know, you might see them sprint on the tarmac every now and then with a 2-up or 3-up sprint, but it's actually very rare if you think about it. Most of their sprints are seated because they've got to do whatever they can to keep traction on the back wheel. And when you're sat down, you know, your weight is over that wheel and it's much easier to keep traction. So come up to the next one, let's move my last one. Just revving it up. Let's do a seated sprint this time. Those cyclocross riders and mountain bikers. Okay, so do what's most relevant to you really. If you're a crit racer or a road racer, e-racer, smash it. Okay, so here we go. All the way. All right. That'll be my last rep. I'm just going to put it for a little bit. A couple other points to cover. But if you're going still, just keep cracking on. Just a little reminder of what we're looking to do really. We're trying to gather data that will represent your best possible power over 5 seconds. The max sprint power, basically. And that's going to reflect how well developed or how useful your auto-creatine system, how good a natural sprinter you are. And why is that important? Say you're a time trialist or, you know, like an endurance cyclist. Why would max level sprinting matter to you? It matters to everyone. Top end power matters to everyone. Really what it comes down to is we should all be doing training like this, but just the amount you do and the blend of training or sprint training you do just changes depending on your focus. So, you know, I'm predominantly a triathlon coach, so we take an Ironman athlete into account. You know, they would, particularly in the off-season, they do a fair amount of sprint training, because what tends to happen with Ironman, really long distance events, you do huge volume coming into the race season, and you lose a bit of top end power because your aerobic system gets so well developed. It's harder for your anaerobic system to develop because all that time on the bike, low intensity, just banking the miles. Yeah, your anaerobic system just can't really compete for development really. So yeah, an Ironman athlete, we'd do a fair amount of top end work in the off season, so around now, get them e-racing, etc. But then of course as you go into the season that would alter. And then likewise, if you know you're a time trialist, you still do sprint training, but you might pepper it in amongst other sessions, endurance focused sessions, or you know, just finishing off some VO2 sets or something. You might not necessarily do dedicated sprint sessions, and then At the other end of the spectrum, your e-races, your crit races, etc. Those that do a lot of anaerobic efforts. You probably do a dedicated sprint session, or at least a dedicated anaerobic session, where all your efforts are essentially full gas, but over different durations. Okay, so that's why this is relevant, because ultimately 5-second power, your phosphocreatine system maps to us all. It kicks in at various points. You know, going back to the Ironman example, you know, just a little kicker, a little roller, you know, say just sort of like 20-30 meters. Even if you're not necessarily trying, that sudden change in gradient, your phosphocreatine system will kick in to a certain extent, or at least your anaerobic systems will, because that kind of dramatic change in effort, it's generally fueled through anaerobic energy production. So there are going to be kind of times when you really need those systems, and if they're completely undeveloped or no top end power, people just sort of roll up it sluggishly rather than power over the top and get back on the pedals. So anyway, I think that's probably enough from me. As always, guys, if anyone's got any questions about any of this, do feel free to drop us a line. info@riak.fitness, or hit us on social media. If you're interested in the power ranking stuff, the power ranking page on the website gives you probably much better explanation than I can right now. For some reason the old brain's not working tremendously well tonight. But yeah, check that out, guys. There's free sessions on there. There's lots of free advice. So if anyone's got any questions, I'll get some questions, but you may well be kind of lungs deep in the sprint, so no worries. Now, a bit of a quiet one from that perspective. Yeah. But yeah, who knows? I've given up trying to guess, to be honest. Anyway, well, enjoy the rest of your session, and have yourself a lovely evening, everyone. And I'll see you next week for week 5. Take care, guys.